Rings of Power is the most expensive TV show ever created, and they probably knew it wouldn't make its money back after only one season, even if they wished it did. And as the months have gone on, almost all talk about the series has died out, besides the occasional discussion about season 2 or the creative team going all female, because nobody really cares about the series. And now Amazon is trying to spin it as a global success because it got demolished by Netflix for its domestic numbers. I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So starting with this Bounding into Comics article, it says Amazon tries to spin the Rings of Power's global success, Stranger Things and Ozark's domestic numbers demolish the narrative. Now, we have seen Amazon try to spin this series in every way possible. They have said it was their best series of all time. They have said that it is considered a success to them behind the scenes and they can't wait for the other seasons of the show to release. But they have been very quiet when it has come to numbers. They initially announced that the first two premiere episodes drew in 25 million households, and then after that, in October, we had heard that it almost was at 100 million households viewed. But then they went silent for 2 months, and then in an investor's statement, we actually heard that they still hadn't hit that number, and now we're hearing that they finally hit that number, but it's February of 2023. So, it says as part of a press release from Amazon, the company stated it had attracted more than 100 million viewers worldwide to the first season of The Rings of Power, making it the most watched Amazon original series in every region of the world with more than 24 billion minutes streamed and driving more Prime signups worldwide during its launch window than any previous Prime video content. Honestly, we figured that this show was going to do good in some way, shape, or form because they were heavily marketing. And I mean, Amazon is obviously a giant website and they do have a lot of marketing potential, and they were shoving Rings of Power on everything. They even put Rings of Power like tape on packaging. I mean, they were going hard with the marketing, so we figured it would do good in some way. But now they are trying to basically say it's done amazing and it did everything they wanted, which clearly can't be true. It says the company then touted this show's commitment to identity politics, saying Amazon Studios also announced the all-female slate of directors. I did previously talk about this, but I don't think that this is really a way to market this series. You would have to change literally everything about the creative team. You would have to change almost everyone, and you would have to basically pretend like the first season didn't exist to bring a lot of Tolkien fans that they shit on back, and those individuals are not going to give this series another chance. It's cool, I guess, in some way that you've got, these new directors, but their gender doesn't matter to me because ultimately the best person for the job should get hired regardless of their gender, but they're acting like, of course, that is the most important thing here. Not the fact that they had no confidence in the people they previously worked with and they needed to, get rid of them to hopefully save the series. But it says, interestingly, if this 24 billion minutes stream number is true, it means the series is seeing much more watch time outside of the US than it is in. Nielsen recently released their numbers for the top 15 streaming programs of 2022 in the United States, and The Rings of Power didn't even make that list. Of course. It says the series did eke into 15th place on the Nielsen's top 15 original streaming programs for 2022, and interestingly, it was beat by The Boys, another Prime Video offering, and I did talk about this in another video, but it just shows no matter how much money you throw into something, that doesn't mean it is going to be massively successful. You need to have passionate people, you need to make sure that budget is being spread out equally to cast members and creatives and the CGI. It needs to be a good product. And, you could say we spent $1 billion on it, and that doesn't make it good. And Rings of Power got beat by very questionable things. I think a lot of content on this list is good, like The Boys, Stranger Things, Wednesday. These are good, but it did get beat by things like The Great British Baking Show, which, a lot of people find funny, and The Last Kingdom. Rings of Power should have been at least, top 10 here, and it barely made 15th. It also shows not only did The Boys beat the Rings of Power, but it beat it by over 1 billion minutes watched, which is definitely, not good for Prime. I mean, yes, that is also their series, which means they're making money off of both of them, but still, you would think that Rings of Power would be above The Boys. It says, however, the 24 billion minutes watched mark is still paltry compared to domestic watch time for a number of programs featured on Netflix. Netflix puts out a lot of content, and even though they cancel a lot of series and upset a lot of consumers that way, and a lot of the content that they put out is questionable, they do still ultimately hit the mark a lot of the time, and that is why they dominate. It says as the Nielsen chart for the top 15 streaming programs overall showcase, Stranger Things racked up 52 billion minutes watched in the US alone. That's more than double all of the Rings of Power's watch time. I'm honestly not very surprised to hear that Netflix is still beating out the Rings of Power and Amazon. I was not impressed with the Rings of Power. I've talked about it many times. I was very sad with the direction that they went in. They had so much money and time to utilize, and they just kind of threw it down the drain, and they still are saying that they are committed to at least all 5 seasons that they wanted to originally do with this show. I still think that they will stop after 3. I think when season 2 releases, they are going to say, while our initial intention was 5 seasons, we're just gonna stop at 3 and make it a trilogy, because we want this to be, an epic viewing experience. And when you think of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, they're trilogies, so we want to make this a trilogy as well. I think they will spin it, but who knows? Maybe they, have to do all 5 seasons at this point. But, judging by the Rotten Tomatoes scores, things never really got better for this show. Of course, the critics is at an 83. Critics love this, but the audience score never went up for them. It is at a solid 38%. We'll have to see what happens with season 2. Of course, I'm sure over the next few months we're going to get more information, maybe more cast announcements, but as you can see, Amazon is trying their very best to spin the Rings of Power as a success, even though they are getting demolished by their competition, which is Netflix. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.